Over the last year, I've gotten a lot of questions about which mods I use for Fallout New Vegas. So I'm going to start posting videos on mods, and what's a more fitting way to begin than to discuss mods that restore New Vegas's cut content. Throughout this video, we're going to talk about over 30 mods that bring back everything from weapons and armor to quest, locations, NPCs, and more. You can find a link to every mod shown in this video below. This is the FNV Cut Content Modding Guide. First up, New Vegas Uncut 1 through 7, and Outside Bets by Moburma 80. Moburma was one of the first modders to document FNV's cut content, and between these 8 mods, he fittingly restored a staggering amount of cut and unused content. Note that Freeside Open does conflict with quest mods that incorporate Freeside. With this in mind, some mods do have compatibility patches to work alongside it. Some players also experience crippling frame rates with Freeside Open, as it adds additional NPCs, removes the gates, and opens up the old Mormon fort. With that said, I've never had much issue with it outside of quest mods. There is a Part 8 of Moburma's Uncut series of mods, which restores the cut intro rendered in-engine. But if you'd like to see this scene for yourself, I'd suggest using Vanilla Intro Plus instead. Note that you need to install simple DLC delay for this to work. In the final game, the New Vegas Strip leaves much to be desired, but Obsidian's vision was much grander. These mods restore some of what they had originally planned. Famously, the Strip was one coherent world space without gates early in development, before it was ultimately split up due to console memory constraints. There are mods like the Strip Open, which restore it, but I've had performance issues and bugs with these, so I personally don't recommend them. The first 2 mods that I do recommend, though, add some much needed ambience to the Strip's interior. First, a cool disabled effect on the exterior of the Tops Casino, while Lucky 38 exterior lights adds additional ambience to Mr. House's crib. Back in my video on Mr. House's cut content, I talked about how the Lucky 38 penthouse has an unused world space climate. Well, Lucky 38 climate cut content changes the default urban world space to the Lucky 38's handcrafted climate. This is a small but welcome change. During the quest, The Moon Comes Over the Tower, the courier talks to Emily Ortal, fails at bugging a terminal inside the Lucky 38, and then returns to her. This is one of the shortest, simplest quests in the entire game, and that's because the majority of it was cut. This mod seeks to restore the quest by re-adding additional quest objectives that send the courier to Camp Golf, North Vegas Steel, and H&H Tools Factory. The latter 2 locations have no other quest linked to them, so this is a major improvement. Populated Casinos does exactly what the name implies, adding more NPCs to the Strip casinos, which are otherwise pretty empty. Note that Populated Casinos has dirty edits and it needs to be cleaned. Finally, Stripwall Billboards by Sandbox 6 restores several billboard walls that were shown during the FMV intro. This isn't the only mod by Sandbox 6 on this list either. Restored Sewers adds 2 cut interior cells back to Fallout New Vegas, the Northwest and Southwest sewers. Wasteland Uncut, also by Sandbox, restores a massive amount of scenery and miscellaneous items that were cut due to console memory issues. Pre-Release Restored complements Uncut Wasteland by focusing on pre-release media and the intro/ending slides. While the majority of changes are minor, they make the Mojave Wasteland a bit more like the developers intended. What would this list be without a few cut items? To start, Equipment Restoration Project brings back nearly every cut weapon, weapon mod, and armor meant for the core game and the DLCs. However, it doesn't restore everything. There's also Scorpion and Spider Rifle, which restores two very cool cut weapons from the Old World Blues DLC. 22 LR Varmint Rifle Restoration rechambers the Varmint Rifle from using 5.56 to what it was originally planned to use, 22 long rifle rounds. It also makes a few other minor changes, which make the Varmint Rifle a much more reliable early game weapon. Cut Keys Restoration and Name Fix restores a bunch of cut keys meant for the base game. Finally, the Note and Terminal Restoration mod revives a ton of cut notes and terminal entries. So little of the Legion's content remains that it'd be a Herculean effort to restore it, but there are still a few mods worth mentioning in this regard. FNV with 1 extra month dev time by C16 includes lore-friendly original content changes that flesh out the Legion by expanding their presence, adding additional NPCs, settlements, and more. Legion AI Bark Fix fixes Legion combat barks, which are lines delivered by NPCs during combat. It also corrects some other issues with Legion soldiers. Next up, 2 mods by RoyBatterion. FNV BSA Sound Decompressor improves performance on modern systems by decompressing the game's sound files. It also fixes some dialogue that normally can't play. He also created Swimming and Rebreather Restoration, which brings back cut sound effects meant to be played while swimming above or below water and while using the Rebreather item. Dead Money Missing Return items restore some missing options for trading in Sierra Madre casino chips. This is a very minor mod, but cool to me nonetheless. While we're talking about the DLCs, Honest Heart's Tribal Race Restoration includes cut African American NPCs for the tribes in Honest Hearts. You may have noticed that there's not much going on in Prem. Well, much of the area was cut, and what little appears in the final game was extensively reworked. Prem Reputation Restored adds a town reputation for your actions in Prem. While this was intended to appear, there is still not a whole lot to do there, unfortunately. 4 Winds Restored restores a minor area that's impossible to reach normally without console commands. This mod removes a boulder and an invisible wall that previously blocked your path. One of the most significant cuts to FNV was losing the ability to play after the endgame battle, and getting to see world changes depending on your choices. Functional post-game ending utilizes a significant amount of unused dialogue intended for the endgame, and it also implements reactivity shown in the ending slides. And to wrap things up, main story alterations. I think it's important to note that some of the content restored by this mod was cut as a design decision rather than for budget or time constraints. But with that said, it's a great mod worth checking out. Also note that you can skip installing Prem Reputation Restored if you use this, as it already incorporates that change. And that's all for my guide to restoring some of what was ultimately left on the cutting room floor. Let me know in the comments if I missed anything, or if you have any suggestions. And as always, thanks for watching.